Hey, welcome back to my home again. My name is Danielle, and today I want to show you how I do my homemade sourdough bread. I've been making bread for about 25 years now. I love to stuff it with all sorts of ingredients, and I wanted to show you with the crawfish bites that my other appetizer I entered, I had some left over. So I wanted to stuff some of this mixture into my homemade sourdough bread. Sometimes I do it in a cake-sized pan, sometimes a meatloaf-sized pan, and today I want to do some little crawfish muffins since we're doing an appetizer, and I want to use these jumbo muffin cups. You can probably use the smaller ones too if you want, but these are the ones I'm going to use. But before I do all of that, I do make my bread from scratch, and I have my own starter that I've started many years ago. So I just wanted to explain to you real quick, if you're interested in doing that, to be able to start a starter. I start out with 2 packages of dry yeast. I use a half a cup of water, and I dissolve the yeast in that. You don't want it to be too warm. It's got to be just to the touch of, I just put my little pinky in it, and if it's barely warm, that's what's good for the yeast. You don't want it too warm. I use 4 tablespoons of sugar, which is probably 1/4 of a cup, and 3 tablespoons of bread flour, not potato flakes, to start it out. And I mix that up, and I leave it on my counter, room temperature, lightly covered, and for 3 to 5 days, preferably 5 days, to let it ferment and let the starter do what it needs to do to be able to make the bread. After the 5 days, if you're not going to make any bread, you can refrigerate it. But if you're going to do some bread, you're going to feed that starter. You're going to take 1 cup of the starter, which is probably what you'll have to start out with. This one I've been feeding. You're going to take 1 cup of the starter, and you're going to feed with a half a cup of sugar. You're going to feed with 3 tablespoons of potato flakes, and also 1 cup of warm water. And again, you're going to add that to your starter, which I've already done here, and you're going to stir it. And again, you're going to leave it out for a day. And then at the end of the day, you might stir it, give it a little stir. But after that time, after the day, that's when I do my bread. So I'll take 6 cups of bread flour. I add another half a cup of sugar. I add a few pinches of salt, maybe a half of a teaspoon of salt, and that is my mixture for my bread. Then I take this with my wet ingredients. I take 1 cup of starter. I add 1½ cups of barely warm water, and a half of a cup to a cup of corn oil. And I mix the wet ingredients together, and I add it to my basic flour mixture here. And I mix it up good, and I form a ball, and I keep it covered, which this is what I did last night so that I could show you that it's been rising. And you leave it out on your counter covered away from drafts for 8 hours or until doubled in size. It just depends. So my bread's been rising, and I want to take it out of this bowl. And it's doubled in size. So I just wanted to show you how pretty that is. And you just mash it down. And you want to put this out on a lightly floured surface. If you're going to make your bread dough, it does very well. If you want to refrigerate it, if you're not quite ready to use it, you can refrigerate it in a Ziploc bag, and I have some right here that I've refrigerated. And this is what I'm going to use to stuff my bread. We'll be back in just a second. Okay, we're ready to do our little crawfish muffins, and I just want to remind you that my crawfish étouffée that I made for my first appetizer, this is a continuation of it, which was made with Philadelphia cream cheese. So it's really turned out to be a great mixture to stuff in my bread, and a definite like in my family. So we have 4 muffins that I've already put together, and I'm going to do 2 of them for you here. Take a good little hunk of it, because these are the jumbo muffins. If you're going to use the smaller muffins, you want to cut down on the bread amount. Okay? Put my bread over here. And all we do is flatten them out. I think I still need a little bit more. Yeah. That's better. When the dough is fresh, it's really springy and it wants to keep coming back. So it's you have to kind of work with it, but you don't want to work with it too much because then it gets sticky. And we put a good little hunk of this crawfish étouffée from the Crawfish Bites in the middle of each one. Okay, and then I dice up some these are the sweet and the hot jalapeno peppers. You can, if you don't care for the sweetness, you can just use the plain jalapeno peppers. Chop them up and just put a little bunch on here and a little bit on here. The bread dough kind of takes away from the spiciness of it, so you don't have to be afraid to put too much in the jalapeno peppers unless you just don't care for them. Also, I'm going to add a little bit of mozzarella and provolone cheese just on the top, not a lot. Okay, and then we're just going to pinch them up together, all the sides, and bring them up to the top. Sometimes that étouffée mixture will just kind of ooze out and come out the top of the bread, and it's really yummy. You don't have to worry about closing them up totally. And you just put them inside your little jumbo muffin cups. Just pinch the sides, and they're done, just like that. Okay, and we're going to bake this in a preheated oven at 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes, depending on your oven and how it heats. So we're going to just put them in here. Ooh, they're ready. I cannot wait to take these out for you to get a look at this. Yum. Look at that. Let's go around over here. They are hot as can be. We are going to take one out. She with this little spoon right here. I'm going to break these out open for you. They are very hot. Just kind of pull them open. Look at that crawfish and creamy mixture and the cream cheese all blended so well. This looks delicious. These are our little crawfish homemade breads. And of course we used Philadelphia cream cheese. These look fabulous. I cannot wait for you to try them. I'm going to break me a little piece off. Just got to try it. Look at that cheese. These are so good. Or as we say in French over here in Louisiana, c'est bon.